Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new weekend out there so far. Here to give you some new information on multiple things in this morning's video. The first thing we will talk about is an update on the tropics. I'm going to tell you right off the dot, this will take up most of the video because we've had some changes, not as far as current conditions out here in the Atlantic, but in the short to medium term as far as model guidance. We've had some pretty big changes as far as this energy in the Bay of Campeche, the Gulf of Mexico, kind of hanging out over areas of the Yucatan Peninsula. And in fact, this is the same energy we've been discussing over the last 7 to 10 days. It made its way from the central Atlantic, survived somewhat the Caribbean, moved into the Yucatan Peninsula, and now chances have increased that this could develop. Now, some might ask, well, what makes this any different than the other times it increases chances of developing? Well, I'll explain why in this video. Some models have this developing into Tropical Storm Francine, maybe even a hurricane as early as sometime midway next week. So we'll discuss this in great detail, talk about current conditions out here in the Atlantic, go over the latest from the National Hurricane Center, all the overnight to this morning's model guidance, and then we'll talk about what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Saturday. That will not take up much of this video because there's really not a whole lot going on today. As high pressure is pretty much dominating the lower 48, cold front moving in, some nice weather. There'll be some pesky kind of rain showers across areas of the south and southeast and mid-Atlantic, but all in all, not a really bad day of weather as a whole for the lower 48 at all. So definitely take advantage of those timestamps. They're definitely there to help you guys out, utilize them, jump ahead to certain portions of the video that you'll want to watch. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below. Folks, my cat is going crazy this morning. Rocket is just circling my feet. You can't see it. He was whining at the door. I had to stop the video multiple times. So he's in here. If you see him jump on the bed or see anything him jump on the bed, trust me, it's just a cat. So with all that being said, let's get rocking and rolling here. Let's make sure this is working. It is, so we're good to go. We're still watching this area out here, just an area of unsettled weather, which we typically see this time of the year out here in the what we call the tropical Atlantic, just an area of shower and storm activity, convection. Has a chance to develop sometime in the next 7 days, but not a very high chance. Most of this video, as far as the update on the tropics, is going to go in discussing this area right here. And right now, just you see, the reds, the blacks, the whites. This indicates colder cloud tops, deeper, stronger convection, just some unsettled weather across the Bay of Campeche, areas of the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico. And nothing is consolidated, organized, put together. No tropical system right at this moment. Now, we do need to watch any energy, that's kind of coming off the eastern seaboard right here. Does that try to get going? Probably not, but we'll watch it. And then we have this sort of non-tropical low that's moving right into Nova Scotia, Atlantic Canada this morning. Hope you guys are faring well this morning. I know I didn't get a chance to talk about it much, but hopefully it's not packing much of a punch for your Saturday morning or throughout the entire day and weekend. So those are a couple pieces out here in the Atlantic, but this one right here is the main piece we're going to discuss. So let's get this all back off our screen and keep rolling here. A little bit closer of a look at this main area of interest we're going to be discussing. Like I said, nothing well put together. This invest, well, once upon a time it was an invest. I do not think it is any longer, but it's still trying to pop off some convection. You can see a little bit of a spin, but you see down here just kind of pockets of deeper convection. When I say convection, I'm meaning shower and storm activity. You see these areas in white. This indicates really cold cloud tops, which means these clouds and just the tops of these storms are soaring pretty high up in the atmosphere. The higher you get up in the atmosphere, the colder it gets, so you got the colder cloud tops. So we'll have to watch over this weekend into early next week. Do we get any sort of cyclonic flow, any kind of low-level circulation that really develops and gets going? So that's something we're going to be watching in the very near term, as in the next 48 hours over this weekend. But this is the area. This is the area that we're about to discuss like crazy here. So latest from the National Hurricane Center, see if we have a new update. We are literally going to get a new update probably any second now, as it's around, 7:45 right now. But this is still the update from about 1:30 this morning Eastern time. Has us at a 60% chance, and I do want to mention this first. This area out here has a 30% chance to develop sometime in the next 7 days. But this is the main area we were watching because if something's going to form, it's going to happen in a much more near term, if you will, pretty soon. If anything forms out of this, we got a while to discuss that. Okay, but this is the main area. A 60% chance to develop in the next 7 days. Okay, now in the next 2 days, it has a 40% chance to develop. So pretty high odds, even in the near term, over the weekend, basically, the next 48 hours. Now, like I said, we're going to get a new update any minute, and I really wish I could catch this new update, and I guess I'm not. So we're going to have to try to go back to this. I would not be surprised if they bump this up to a red. So it goes from yellow, which is a low risk, orange, medium risk, red, 70% or higher, high risk of developing. And when I say developing, guys, I mean develop into a tropical depression or a named storm. So it has a defined low-level circulation, which we would dub it a tropical cyclone. So this could bump up any second now because there'll literally be an update from the National Hurricane Center literally in minutes. So let's go over all the latest model guidance. And I do think they'll bump it up from a 60 to a 70%. If it's not on this update, it'll be the 2 p.m. update. So I'm calling that shot now. But let's continue to roll here. So let's look at the latest GFS. We're actually going to start off by looking at the GFS, then we'll go Euro, and then we go to Icon, then the Canadian, which, by the way, if this develops into a tropical cyclone, the Icon absolutely nailed this from way out. I mean, one of those half-court shots that you swish in, just nailed it. But let's keep going here. GFS, don't focus too much on this L and this L. Just kind of watch what happens. You start this morning. We go into tomorrow morning. Watch how this L pops up down here. So we just got a lot of green, pockets of yellow, red, orange, just unsettled weather down here in the Bay of Campeche, which if you don't know what that is, it's right here. It's kind of in between the Yucatan Peninsula and Mexico. Tropical systems like to spin up down here. Very warm body of water. We get into Monday. We still got this area of unsettled weather here. Okay, we get into Tuesday. Now we have a 1,000 millibar low tropical storm trying to develop right up against the Mexico coastline to the Gulf of Mexico. We get into Wednesday. Latest GFS, which by the way is the strongest one yet, has consistently got stronger. Wednesday morning, September the 11th, we have a 993 tropical storm Francine based off this model run. It's right up against the coastline, but it's over the open water still, so it can still strengthen. And then we take it all the way to Wednesday evening. It is now almost a hurricane. If not a hurricane, it's a 984 millibar low, which I would argue is probably a Category 1 hurricane, kind of right in the spot where Hurricane Beryl was. And then we take this into Thursday, I would say Wednesday night and a Thursday morning. This makes a landfall right along the Texas-Louisiana coastline. Kind of right, I would say, you might as well say between Houston and Lake Charles. So moves in, makes a landfall, and then obviously dissipates. So this has an all-out Category 1 hurricane making landfall midway this coming week. The latest GFS does. Now I'll keep the run going because it does show some activity getting going from out here in the tropical Atlantic. Gets close to home, but the model guidance on this has been absolutely everywhere. It's hard to discuss this in great detail. There has been some consistency in the, I would say, the 8 to 12 day range with something developing off the coast of the southeast, not this week, but next. But I mean, hence, that's why I said next week. I mean, I'm not talking about this coming week, like the next week after that. It's too far out to really care, honestly, at this point. But it does want a stalling out major hurricane past the 10-day mark here in the Southwest Atlantic. Not much to discuss with that for now. We'll discuss that when we need to. The latest Euro with the same energy. Keep your eyes over here, really. Okay, we keep this going. Euro kind of does something weird with the previous invest in the northwest Gulf of Mexico, but it finally sort of latches on to something right in here, and we get into Sunday, and then we get into Monday, and then we get into Tuesday. So Tuesday, it has the energy here, just a big blob of green. If I was to pull up the Vort map in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere, you could see the energy, but it doesn't really get it together. We take it into Wednesday, just a big blob of tropical moisture, and then we take it into Wednesday night. It just never develops it. Now you keep on going and we look at anything else. It takes the associated energy, then tries to develop it about a week from today, next Saturday morning, the 14th, off the coast of the southeast. but it doesn't do anything with any energy out here in the Atlantic, and it just is really a non-eventful run, which would be good. Now the Icon. Now, I'm telling you, the Icon deserves to flex its guns if it ends up becoming a tropical cyclone in the Gulf of Mexico. So here comes the latest icon from this morning. Consolidates that energy as early as Monday morning, September the 9th, here in the next couple days. 1,004 millibar low begins to strengthen it. We get into Tuesday morning. It's an all-out tropical storm, which would be Francine in the western Gulf of Mexico. It's heading north, right towards the mainland U.S. Tuesday evening, it's strengthening. You see that millibar kind of steadily dropping, and then ultimately makes a landfall. Not I would say not near as strong as the GFS. It's just a tropical storm, kind of right where the GFS makes a landfall. 996 millibar tropical storm. Wednesday afternoon would bring impacts inland and then eventually weaken it. What about the Canadian model from overnight? Canadian does the same thing. Gets the energy together. By the time we're into Tuesday morning, the 10th, has 1,000 millibar low pressure tropical storm, and then it strengthens it, kind of grinds up the Texas coastline, then it makes landfall as just a weak tropical storm Francine. So if we compare all the operational model guidance runs here, the GFS is definitely the strongest, the Euro is the weakest, but I think it's 3 against 1 as far as developing an all-out tropical cyclone, because the Euro just flat out doesn't develop it. So we look at ensemble guidance. And folks, I'm just going to look at the GEFS 06Z ensemble guidance. Not going to look at the European because I'll be honest, I'm not really buying the European here. You know, part of what I do here, and I've said this many times before over the last couple of years, is I give my own opinion, and I typically don't go towards the aggressive route, but I think this is going to develop into something. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. You know, I'm wrong a lot. But this is my opinion, just because we've seen what the Gulf of Mexico has done in the past. But we get into Monday afternoon. Remember, the GEFS makes up 21 runs. The EPS, European Ensemble, makes up 51. And I can tell you, most of these members develop something right into here. This is many members. It doesn't mean that there's 21 tropical storms. It just means that, hey, out of all the 21 members, it looks like just about every single member model run on the ensemble develops into something, throws them all on the screen for us on Weather Nerds here. But some of these certainly get pretty strong. This is going to have to load a little bit because I did not have this preloaded like a dummy here. But you know, some of the weaker runs are weaker and they kind of head a little bit more west. Therefore, they make a earlier landfall into Texas. The stronger runs go more so into Louisiana, the extreme eastern coastline of Texas. So you got some 990 sub 1,000 millibar lows making landfall into Louisiana. We got maybe 1 or 2 hurricanes in there, but I would say the GFS as actual GFS run is kind of an outlier run. Shows a stronger scenario, stronger than all the ensemble runs that it depicts here. But that's a pretty strong signal in the medium term. So we got to continue to watch that. Let's see if we can catch a new update from the National Hurricane Center. And we did. Awesome. So it did not increase. So we're still at a 60% chance sometime over the next 7 days. If we see if the 2-day outlook has changed. No, it has not. So still about the same. They've kept it the same. But if model guidance continues, I would say through midday, the 12Z runs, if they continue to show something, then it'll probably get a bump up to a 70% chance. So that's the latest on the tropics. We'll continue to keep you updated. Am I going to be able to get a video out this evening? Saturday evenings during the fall are haywire. I got a birthday party. We got the soccer games midday today. Football. I'll try to get a video tonight if I can fit it in, especially if model guidance is going crazy with it. But we'll see what we can do here. But as far as what's happening across the lower 48, folks, we got a lot of rain pushing into Nova Scotia and southeastern New Brunswick. Hope you guys are okay out here. Like I said, sorry I didn't get a chance to really discuss this much for you folks, but hopefully it's not that bad. We definitely got a lot of rain, a cool rain I might add, for certain areas up here in Quebec and Ontario. A little bit of lake effect rain showers coming off Lake Michigan. And we still got some pesky rain down here in Georgia, South Carolina, especially eastern North Carolina, southeast VA. A lot of these areas need to rain. I know my house, we only got like 9/100ths of an inch of rain last night. So that's pretty much about a 1/4 inch of rain in about 21 days in my house, which is pretty wild considering we went from, all the rain we got from Tropical Storm Debbie to pretty much nothing. But it, feast and famine, it happens in a lot of areas. But we got rain hanging out along the Gulf coastline, moving into the Big Bend of Florida. Everybody else, though, folks, quiet. And it's cool across a lot of the country, too. It's a beautiful morning across a lot of areas of the country. And we got some rain showers out west, but not a big deal. We continue to have to look at this instead of the Pivotal Weather site, which I like more, but I don't know what's going on. They haven't updated it since September the 2nd. But we got current frost advisories up here in northern Wisconsin. Love to see it. You guys know I like cooler weather more than hot weather. I think people who've been tuning in for any long length of time probably know that by now. But we got freeze warnings. I think that's freeze warnings. Yeah, that's freeze warnings. Let's go on and click on it because, yeah, freeze warnings, which is probably for what's going on right now up here. That's definitely going to get those maple forest up here changing, and I'm sure you're already getting. If anybody's tuning in, I know I've seen one person mention, if you're tuning in from northeast Minnesota, let me know. Let me know what the fall foliage looks like up here. One day, me and my wife, or even my kids, we're going to either rent an RV, very small one, or either invest in one, and really just travel up here like crazy when we get older. I've even teased my wife about moving up here in the UP of Michigan one of these days. As active as I am on social media, it would blow your mind how much I think internally I long just to live in like a cabin in the woods and isolated from technology, which you wouldn't think that for somebody who runs a pretty successful YouTube channel and social media profiles. I am not really tech savvy at all. It really tells you because I'm still doing videos out of my room. Haven't really made a whole lot of upgrades. But I definitely long for that internally. And, one of these days we will retire in the mountains, but it probably won't be up here in the Great Lakes region. It'll probably be a little closer to home in the mountains of North Carolina. But anyways, there's your 3-minute side story there. Flood watches up along the Gulf coastline, heat advisories in the southern Florida, heat advisories up here in the Pacific Northwest, red flag warnings in that hot pink color, excessive heat warnings. The heat isn't quite as bad today, but still pretty brutal. As far as the excessive rainfall outlook, we still got a slight risk hugging the Gulf coastline, Louisiana, all the way to the Panhandle, Florida, and everybody in between. Marginal risk in the green. So in that yellow area, that's where you just have a 15% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance. No severe weather really expected today. I would say some of that severe weather in Ohio definitely overachieved. Saw some video, I believe, out of the Columbus area. I think, someone correct me if I'm wrong, nasty hailstorm moved through. And heck, I think there was a tornado warning in New York State. So just a general risk of thunderstorms in the light green. Nothing severe expected. Now, the southeast today, we're going to continue to get these pesky rain showers, but most of the energy will kind of, as far as the Carolinas, well, by the time we're in like this afternoon, some peaks of sunshine will actually warm you up into like the mid to upper 80s in certain areas of the Carolinas as we lose the cloud cover that we've been dealing with over the last few days. Rain will continue in South Georgia, the Panhandle of Florida, northern Florida. We'll actually get some widespread thunderstorms across central Florida. Could cause some rain delays for some college football games. We could get some storms, some showers that could redevelop in the Carolinas, maybe even Georgia later this afternoon. But I wouldn't expect anything to be highly impactful or anything like that. So that's honestly, folks, you look at the southeast and the northeast, which we'll discuss now. I mean, besides the entire eastern U.S. is the most active weather today, and all in all, it's not very active. But this cold front will sweep across the northeast today, and associated with it, we'll have some showers, maybe even some thunderstorms that could sweep across interior sections of New England. I don't think these will pack much of a punch, just kind of a sweeping motion of moisture that'll move on throughout the afternoon, this evening. And then once that moves through, cooler air filters in. Look at that blue showing up on your map up here in Ontario, areas of Quebec. You love to see it. I know I do. Then we get into tomorrow morning, and it's quiet for the most part. So just some pesky rain showers if you're kind of venturing up here in New England. I don't think they'll impact anybody's lives too greatly or anything like that. The south central U.S. will continue to just get some rain showers across southeast sections of Louisiana. For once, we don't have to zoom into Louisiana. That might change if we're breaking down a tropical cyclone into this area later next week. But today, the weather is quiet. Nice, high pressure dominating the area. Beautiful Saturday expected. Maybe some rain showers are waking up to tomorrow morning. And Kansas, outside of that, beautiful weather. Up here in the north central U.S., it's pretty nice. It's a cool start. Look at this blue showing up here on the Canadian side here. Pretty wild stuff, but not totally unusual. But as far as weather, folks, I mean, we just cleared the next 24 hours, and there is nothing. Now, I can tell you, it is a little nippy up here. We look at the updated temperatures. Look at this. We're sub-freezing up here in the northeastern sections of Minnesota, deep into the 30s in northern Wisconsin. We have more so 40s, 30s the further west you get in the UP, but just widespread 40s. Just a nice chilly morning. Air cleared out. It's probably a little too cool to open the windows, but it is nice across the Midwest, the Great Lakes region. You'll need a light jacket, but by the time you get in the mid to late morning, it'll feel pretty comfortable outside. Just a phenomenal early September morning out there. In my opinion, I know not everybody agrees with that kind of stuff. They want to be 100 degrees in September for whatever reason, but not me. The western U.S., it is quiet, folks. There's not a whole lot going on. Some showers could bubble up in Arizona, Southern California, maybe even Nevada, maybe even Colorado, but nothing widespread at all. Enjoy your day. Temperatures cool across areas of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. You might have to keep that kind of light coat on all day up here in the Great Lakes region, but it's pretty nice. Temperatures might actually cool throughout the day behind this rain in New York State, areas of PA. But ahead of this front, it'll warm up on into the 60s and 70s across New England. You're going to have this corridor of warmer air from like Birmingham to Atlanta to Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg to or maybe all the way up to Raleigh, where you'll kind of have the heating before the cold front that is sweeping through. But Nashville, Tennessee up to Kentucky, cold front will be making its way through. Beautiful weather and nice down in Texas. For once in Texas, it is not scalding hot. It's nice. But the high plains all the way up into the 80s and 90s, but the heat isn't quite as bad as it's been the last few days. That's all I got, guys. Continue to tune in. We got to watch the Gulf of Mexico. It is peak hurricane season, as slow as it's been. It's definitely that time of the year where things can kind of come up fast. So definitely continue to stay tuned from updates. If it ain't from me, from somebody, especially if you live in the Gulf states. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful Saturday, and I'll talk to you again soon.